Mobs, thugs, fighters, criminals, intelligent, people with a lot of money. These could be the seasonings and the base to create the most dangerous people in history. In this video I will show you those who were very feared in their time, either because of their brute strength or their power of calculation to make life impossible for others, making them totally a danger to society. Who are they? What did they do to have this terrible adjective? In minutes you will know, so do not detach yourself from the screen.
Charles Bronson. In this position we have the perfect example to encompass this entire video, since Charles Bronson was, and continues to be since he is still alive, a danger to society, both outside and inside prison. And it is that his life is crazy, because he spent it going in and out of jail, never being able to recover to live in society. Born in Great Britain in 1952, to this day he is considered one of the most violent convicts in the world. At one point he even took policemen hostage in the jail itself. He is currently in the maximum security Wakefield prison, and all these events can be seen in the 2008 film Bronson. Mark Reed, Chopper. And we move on to a very similar case, because we are talking about another violent person who was imprisoned, and also has a biopic. This is Mark Reed, aka Chopper. Born in Melbourne, Australia, Mark is considered one of the most dangerous people in Australia, as he was sentenced for various crimes such as armed robbery, assault and kidnapping, and even murder of several people. Between the ages of 20 and 38, he was only free for 13 months, which changed his point of view on life, and he began to write biographical books and fiction based on his experiences as a criminal, although that does not mean that he continued to commit crimes, since it was in his blood to do so. Like the previous case, a biography about him was also released in 2001, starring Eric Bana, which has some comedy overtones, which is nonetheless creepy due to his particular character. Jack the Ripper. Very little is known of this person about his identity, since it was never really known who he was, and he was one of the great enigmas of the Victorian era. Since 1988, this mysterious person has murdered more than 5 women, some say more, in the London neighborhood of Whitechapel. His modus operandi was to choose women who generally worked as prostitutes, and his way of murdering them was by cutting their necks, and then proceeding to mutilate the genital area and abdomen, remove their organs and disfigure their faces. He is undoubtedly one of the sickest and scariest people, since he could literally be anyone. Although they awarded him 5 homicides, there were 6 others with the same characteristics. Several people thought to be the perpetrators of the crime were arrested, but were ultimately released for lack of evidence. To this day, it is the greatest mystery in the history of England. Jeffrey Epstein. As I told you at the beginning of the video, one of the most dangerous profiles in a person is sometimes not the strength and violence they may have, but also something more important, their intelligence and their monetary power. Jeffrey Epstein had both. With you grow up, I think he needs no introduction, because he was in the public eye to this day, but he was a billionaire businessman, with a deep mystery. He organized parties and raped many women, including some girls. He even went so far as to make his own private island where he invited the most powerful people in the world to hang out, where many women were said to be kidnapped. In the list of invited people, you can see Hollywood actors, businessmen, politicians, and people of great power. On July 6, 2019, Epstein was arrested at the Teterboro Airport in New Jersey on charges of sex trafficking, and was incarcerated at the New York City Metropolitan Correctional Center, but was reported on July 10 that he allegedly committed suicide. In his cell, one of the highest security cells in the world, which is pretty suspicious to say the least. Charles Manson. And we return with another calculating psychopath, where his strength lies in manipulation and not in force. In a context of the 60s, where drugs were the order of the day, Charles Manson in the United States led a supposedly hippie sect, where he controlled his group through psychedelics and somewhat strange ideals. We are also talking about a person with multiple problems with the authorities, since Manson went to prison from a very young age, so that criminal mentality was with him practically all his life. He did not kill anyone in his entire life, but he ordered the murder of several people. Among them the most iconic was in 1969 when his subjects murdered Sharon Tate, who was in an advanced period of pregnancy. Charles Manson was imprisoned until his death in 2017. This case was incredible, since the level of submission he had to other people was impressive. From here many sects arose that carried out similar acts, but nothing could compare with the horrors of Charles Manson. John Jairo Velasquez, Popeye. In this video, we could easily mention Pablo Escobar, the man with the greatest power in Colombia in the 80s and in the rest of the world, due to the power he had with cocaine trafficking and his power to murder anyone with bombs or automatic weapons. But we could mention someone more dangerous than him, his personal serial killer, Jan Jairo Velasquez, better known as Popeye. A person who came to kill the love of his life, by order of his boss, and by the same order of Pablo Escobar, murdered more than 300 people between the 80s and 90s, and due to his operations, since he led a large group of hitmen, killed around 600 policemen, a number that far exceeds that of a serial killer. According to him, when he killed he had a kind of peace, which was released and took with it all the evil that he had inside of him. A totally dark being. He died of cancer in 2020, and before that he had a YouTube channel where he told anecdotes about him, and he gave many interviews in parallel. Perhaps after Pablo Escobar, he was one of the bloodiest assassins in Colombia. Ted Bundy. Provocative, attractive, intelligent, mocking, all of that was Ted Bundy, a person who in the 1970s committed more than 30 homicides of women and girls in more than 7 states located in North America, and those were the ones he confessed to, since it is speculated that there were many more. Ted Bundy had 2 very dangerous combinations, since he was extremely intelligent, and he was a serial killer, and that combination put him on trial for years, before his official arrest in 1980. He practiced as his own lawyer in all his trials, and he earned the affection of the public both in court and the public who watched the show live, since it was the first televised trial in the entire country. There are many documentaries, but one of the most important was one called The Ted Bundy Tapes that covers his entire life, from his tumultuous childhood, his horrible crimes, and until his death in 1989 when he was executed in the electric chair. So far we have come with this video, now we can know that the most dangerous people have multiple characteristics, and one of the most horrifying is that they can be anyone, even a neighbor or a well-known person.